The regular speaker is not available due to some urgency. So we asked Lanka Koundinya to share and present as a part of a data series, right? PL300. He's going to share his views on the visualizing next topic as a part of this, visualize and analyze your data. So watch it, and if you have any questions, right, please post your questions. We are happy to help you. Okay, anything related to the technology, or maybe if you are planning for the certification, any views, we are happy to help you. Kaudinya, the stage is yours. You can share and showcase how this visualization and analyzing of data part comes into this. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Rajendra. I think welcome everyone. So I so far I showed I think you have had two sessions on so how to get the Power BI instruction and what is Power BI and what is the forms it is, and Amit has explained everything. So in this session, I want to cover about the visualize and analyze your data. So major part of the data analyst will be three things. So one is the data preparation, and the second is the how to after preparing the data cleansing and data modeling. So after that, he has to do the visualization because the major part of the data analyst will be on the visualization because whatever data he has prepared and he has analyzed, it will be at his end. But how he will present to the client and how he will prepare the model, how it will be easier to understand the things, that will be major important in visualize and analyze your data. So first part of it is visualize. So how you will visualize your data and how you will check the things. So in this session, I think we have seen the PL300 and Power BI overview and design Power BI reports and enhance reports for user experience and identify patterns and trends and practical tips for success. These are the five areas where we can cover about the PL300 certification. So once we are done with these things, we will have the PL300 overview and understanding the certification path and what are its mandates. So majorly there will be three things in data engineering and data analytics perspective we will see now. Previously we used to have the DP not 203, which will be as a data engineer, which is modernized now with PL300, DP600 and DP700. So in the PL300, we will see the Power BI Data Analyst. It is completely focused on Power BI. And DP600 is what we have done yesterday, which is on the Fabric Analytics Engineer. So which will cover the analytics part plus Fabrics. And the third is the DP700, which will completely cover on the data engineering perspective, which is previously it will be DP203. Now it is a transformed to DP700, which will cover the data engineering aspects plus Fabric. So in this now today's our major focus will be on the PL300 Power BI Data Analytics. So in this Power BI Data Analyst, we will have the completely related to the what will be the exam PL300, which will cover. So this will be an intermediate level. So it is an associate certificate. It is not a basic. So definitely if you have a practical experience on designing the dashboards and preparing the data and visualize and analyze your data and prepare how to prepare the semantic models. These things will be, if you have some basics experience in designing some dashboards and some views in Power BI, that can help you out in to pass the exam easily. So definitely the pass percentage will be 70% above. So you should have an experience in defining the Power Query and DAX is also expected. So you should have a practice on it, and then you will the what all the parts in the PL300 will cover. So there are four parts majorly. One is the prepared data. So there will be some questions on prepared data and some questions on modeling of data and some questions on visualize and analyze data, and also manage and secure Power BI. So the governance part and how the role-based access control, these things will be covered in the manage and secure Power BI. So these are the four areas the exam will be divided into it, and you have to be, you should not be covering only one or two models. At least you should have some advanced knowledge in three of the models. Then only you can have a better pass percentage. So in the prepared data, it will cover, there will be Microsoft has provided. So how much percentage it will cover in the exam questions. So one is the prepared data. You will see the 25 to 30% of data questions will be covered. So here we will have the what are the types of get data. So for any kind of visualization, so first important part is source. So what type of data source we can have? So in Power BI can accept any kind of data which is not as streaming, but any offline data we can handle with Power BI and we can prepare the data. Okay. So for that, what type of source you have and what type of Excel, or it is a flat file, or is SQL, or it is a Oracle. So any kind of data, it is structured majorly. So after that, once you get the data, then you have to do the profile and clean the data. So any data in real time, whatever we will see is it will be in the form of any format. So whatever we got for preparing the data, so we can see the data will be some kind of unstructured or some type of data which is not acquired. So for example, if you take any test field we provided to a user, so he will enter anything. So that maybe we have to consider or not, we have to see, and whatever data we need is not, we have to do. That is what is profile and clean data will do. And after that, we have to see the transform and load data. So as part of a data analytics, it is not much needed, but they have to do some part of it. Okay. So they have to do some transformations and some load data somewhere. So the source will not be as we expected. So always the data, when we are handling the data, it will be secured from the client perspective. So we have to pick the proper data from him and we have to get it. So these things we have to do the transform and load, which will come under ETL. So this will cover 25 to 30% of your questions, and this will be the first section. And the second section will be on the model data. So in this we can have a design and implement a data model, and whatever DAX queries we will use those things, and whatever the optimize of model performance. So the semantic model and everything will come under here. And the third major part is what we are covering in this session is visualize and analyze. So creating, once you prepare the data, whatever is needed for you in the form of a model, then we will go with the reports. And then after that, we will enhance our reports for usability and storytelling. So if you see a report, it has to give us the complete information. For example, if we take the previous, so nowadays we are seeing the football matches, FIFA World Cup. So if a report has to be prepared from the streaming data and it has to give the complete experience when we see it. So how many matches it has done and how much goals it has done and what is the success, who can win. So those all information can be easily understood. We should not go into it and we should not deep dive into a report. So a report, whatever we do, it has to give the complete information for us and it has to be easily understood by everyone. So that is the main expectation of us when we are doing a report. And once we are done, so we have to identify the patterns and trends on it. So usually we will see majority times in cricket matches. So if the based on the pitch and based on after 5 hours of runs, they will identify, okay. So if we go like this, the after 50 hours or 20 hours, this will be the score and they can do this much. So this is what is patterns and trends we will analyze on our reports. So whatever report we have generated, so it has to give the some patterns and trends easily to analyze for us, for a client or for a stakeholder to understand the things. Majority of the Power BI report will be always with the business analysts. So whoever the business stakeholders and business analysts will be there who is 100% understanding on the functionality, they have to understand the things easily. So a Power BI developer main aim is to do the things, he has to connect the technical and functional feasibility. So that is what is the main aim of our section in visualize and analyze model. After that, we will have one more section which will cover 15 to 20% on, so what are the workspaces we will develop and what are the assets we have and how we will govern governance part of a Power BI reports and dashboards. So that will all be majorly nowadays we are deploying the Power BI reports in the app.powerbi.com, and that Microsoft has provided a privilege for us to share our reports in Teams channel also. So when we are sharing our report in a Teams channel, so how it will visualize the data, so how the security. So we should not share the information to others who are not authorized. So that part of things will be covered in the secure and govern Power BI items. So majority times when we use the Microsoft, definitely it will have a two-factor authentication, and who are the respective audience, they only can be seen in that report. So let's go with the Microsoft Fabric, which is the evolving technology and which is the latest version of the Power BI. So advanced version of the Power BI. So in this, we will see yesterday also we had seen some of the aspects and we have covered multiple times. So it is a one unified analytics platform where we can have each and end-to-end things and which will help us in covering all the aspects. So when we see in the Power BI, there are some issues. So whatever is some things when we have to bring the data and when we have to do the transformations, definitely we should depend on other tools like Azure Data Factory or any other ETL tool like SSIS or SQL Server. But when it comes to Microsoft Fabric, so this is there will be a data factory, inbuilt data factory, which can handle us the ETL operations. And the Fabric can help us in doing the data engineering part. So when it goes to data engineering part, so the data will be the source data, which is a raw source data, which will be in different kind of file formats and different cleanup and raw. It will be not a high cleaned data and cleansed data. So we have to do some transformations and we have to do some ETL operations. So to do that, and whatever data we need, we have to make it to structured, and it should be a proper transformed and cleansed data we need. So to do that, we have to do some data engineering operations. So Fabric is providing it the notebooks, so which will handle four different kind of languages like Python, SQL, R, and Scala. So we can do any kind of a notebook code. We can do data engineering part, and we can do some transformations, and we can build a medallion architecture, which is nothing bronze, silver, gold, which we usually listen. So what is the use of doing this bronze, silver, gold medallion architecture? So the medallion architecture will be like something usually based on our need. We will develop the things. So we have to have the bronze layer, which will be the raw data, which is not cleansed and which is not clean. So whatever the source we are getting from the client or some business, so we will pick the data and we will load it, which may be structured, unstructured, semi-structured. So there will be three patterns of data. So structured data will be usually as we see in the Excel or SQL or Oracle or databases, MySQL databases, which will be one row, one column, one value. That is structured. When it comes to semi-structured, so semi-structured data will be like a simply we will see the JSON or XML. So where the data or MongoDB or Cosmos DB. So where we will see the data in the semi-structured format, which will see multiple arrays of JSON, arrays of string structures and strings. So there will be there will be a number of columns sometimes, and the columns and rows will not be in the proper format like structured data. So there will be a semicolon or something we can provide in JSON, and we will add the data. And the unstructured data, what we will see in the test files or video files. So where we will see the data is not at all in structured. There is no proper definition of column and proper definition of data. So these all things will be, we will load in the bronze layer. After that, we will classify this data. So based on the structure, we will make it to structured data. So structured will be to structured, and semi-structured to structure, and unstructured to structure. So this is the bronze to silver layer classification. Once the silver layer data is whatever we need, so sometimes we will have the data duplications. So in real time, majority times what will happen is the client will send us a data, so every day, but he will not check the data is sent or not. So he will usually send it back again. So the data will be duplicated. So, and also that duplication we have to check, and proper structure. So when it comes to schema, so some data will be in some format. So when we expect in a time data, so they will send some structured data. So like name or something strings. So we have to make it structured from bronze to silver. So these all things also data cleanup needs to be done. And once we get the data in silver layer, from silver to gold, whatever data we need for the report generation. So based on it, we will define two things. One is dimensions and second is the facts. So what is the main aim of doing dimensions? So dimensions are something where the columns will be less, columns will be more and rows will be less. When it comes to facts, so facts, columns will be less, rows will be more. Means a fact will be a transactional data and dimensions will be a master's data. And we will do the dimension facts in the data warehouse model. And after that, the advanced technology to embed into it is the data science. So this is a limitation to Power BI. So in our Power BI, we don't have the data science. When it comes to Fabric, so we can build the data science machine learning models and artificial intelligence, agentic AI, so Gen AI related things in the data science. So this is also one more feature. And another feature is the real-time analytics. So whenever we are seeing any live matches or live streaming data, like when we see watch any Netflix videos and anything Amazon Prime, so the live streaming will be happen. So the report needs to be refreshed at every instance of time. So it should not wait for a time. So then we have the privilege to go with the Fabric. And the last is Power BI is also one of the feature which will help in the Power BI and also in Fabric. And the data is a one lake, a single unified data lake for the whole organization. Means a table in Power BI, we can store the data in the structured format. And when it comes to Fabric, we can store the data in any kind of formats. So we can store, it is a platform where we can work on together, but storage part is something we can handle it with the help of a Delta Lake and which is nothing but a Delta warehouse. So a Delta warehouse will handle with the ACID properties like atomicity, consistency, isolation, durability, and also a Delta table can help us in doing the time travel, versioning, which can provide the things. And when we are handling with this much huge data, so what is the performance it can provide? So how we have to handle the performance? This is called a backend mechanism where it will do on the Spark streaming. So majority of people you heard about Spark, but what we are doing a data science or whatever we will say big data or something agentic AI or Gen AI, when we are handling with huge amount of data, the backend mechanism has to handle the data, this much of data transformations and this much of analysis, this much of warehouse particles. So it has to do, so the engine has to be strong. So to do these things, computing part, so we have the Spark. So this all can be handled by the Spark streaming at the backend. So the Spark will handle these computations and memory and everything they can be handled in the Spark. And this is completely a SaaS SaaS product experience and which will provide a software as a service. So this is a software fabric which we will use for it and we will develop our reports and we will do some data engineering part and we will analyze the things. And the fabric usage is one of the major thing is security and governance. So in the one catalog, we can have the role-based access control, attribute-based access control related things, so which can be provide us the doing the whoever access is needed, so they only can be visible. And the compute and storage part, which we discussed on the Spark related things and cloud. So majorly we will use the backend, the cloud when we go with Fabric. So as we are dealing with Microsoft, we will deal with the Azure. So ADLS containers, we can handle it. And there we will store our data. So storage is separate and computing is separate and analysis is separate. So three things came into one platform. That is why it is called as a unified data lake for the unified analytics data lake for the whole organization. And it can provide us the business models with the help of either Fabric or Power BI. So when comes to the Power BI from data to decisions, so there are three layers as we discussed. One is the data sources. So it can be either files, databases, cloud services, or APIs. It can be of anything. We can get the data, and from there, once we get the data, so we will do some data engineering aspects and we will prepare the transformations and we will move on the data to the Power BI desktop. So in the Power BI desktop, we will prepare the models, shape and build reports. So we will prepare the model and shape and build reports in the Power BI desktop. Once we prepare the reports or dashboards, we will deploy them to the Power BI service and mobile. So majorly we will deploy them to the app.powerbi.com, and from there we will share our reports via the Teams and any path we can share it. These are the three ways. So when it comes to the design Power BI reports, so what type of visuals we have to choose and what type of formatting we have to do. So this is the important thing. So whenever we are doing any Power BI report, we should understand the, so what is the use of doing this report. So when we are doing a report, we have to understand, okay, who is the end user and what type of usage he is doing and how easily he can get the information from our report. So that is what we have to majorly think on. Based on his understanding and what is his need, based on that, we have to think on based on whatever data we have. So how we can present him. So better way, whatever we can have. So first thing is choosing the right visual. So there will be some bar charts, pie charts, and so many charts we can have. So what visual we have to choose and what type of data we have and how we can present it. So that is what is the first step we have to do. And second thing is format for clarity. So we have to have the titles, access labels, and colors should aid the comprehension. So when we see these things, so we have to think on whatever data we have and so how we can present the information. So we have to add some slicers and versus filters. So we usually see when we have to use the slicers and when we have to use the filters. So so that is major part. Rajendra, I see someone has unmuted. Can you
Yeah,
unmute
yeah,
them?
I will take it. Yeah.
Sure, thank you. Okay, so use slicers were user-driven category and data range selection on the canvas. So when we provide a slicer, so a user can change the data and he can see some range of selections. So whenever we have to provide that, that is a major important. We should not provide for all the columns, whatever all the attributes we have. So we should not provide that. So some period of time, majority times we will have on slicer can be needed for the time period. So when we generate a report, so it can be of a week or monthly data he has to see or 24 hours of data. So he has to do the slicer on it. So based on it, he can get the information and he can analyze the data. For more granular data control and scope precedence, he can understand it. So that is the way of using the slicer. And there will be one more approach is drill down and drill through. So in that, we can do some drill down to explore hierarchical data within a single visual. So we need to understand the depth of a sales whenever happen. So at some period of holidays, so when we see some holiday sessions, we can see some more sales. So at that time, we have to analyze the trend of it. So there we have to see the how the depth is going on. So they have to drill down to it and get the data information. And sometimes they drill through pages to allow users to navigate to focused and filtered views of specific data points. So that is also we have to consider. And third one is the bookmarks and buttons. So whenever we are doing something, so we have to implement some bookmarks. So what this information gives and some buttons to save specific report states. So we have to provide after doing some analysis, he has to store the information. So those things also we have to provide. And we have to see now the AI is growing too much. So how we can betterly provide our data Power BI report has to compete with AI. So that's where we have to share our report, which can provide us faster. So that is what we have to see. So those are the important things when we see the formatting visuals. And we should have a formatting makes the insight visible. So when we see the report before, so when we are analyzing, it will be some no visual hierarchy and raw numbers. So he will have some Excel data. But after we do some conditional formatting and preparing some reports, it has to contain the icons, color sales, and emphasis guide the eye to what matters. So that is what I was saying about a visual. A report can provide you the information by it when we glance at it at 5 to 10 seconds, you have to understand what the report is presenting to it. So whenever we share a report, it has to have a so what the x-axis needs to be and what the y-axis needs to be. So you should select the proper way, so which can help us to identify it easily and what the report is indicating for us. So that is the way when we are developing a report or a dashboard is the major aspect. And after it, we have to see the themes and conditional formatting. So majority times what we see is multiple people, what they usually do when I see it. So they used to keep some colors or something boxes like it in a report, which is, I think they will feel that, okay, color can give some information or making it color more color. That's not the way of doing the things. So if you are adding anything like your theme needs to be a simple theme which has to give us the information. So if you, for example, if you see this screen, so completely background is white. So why they give the background white is they can put some colors or something information they can put by Microsoft, right? So why they did not put is, so they have to share the information. So if you see the screen, so definitely your eyes will go to the, okay, what is highlighted here, themes and conditional formatting. You will go to there. And after that, you will see three colors. So means something they are sharing at three bullet points. So what is that? First bullet point is apply consistent themes. And second bullet point is indicating the use conditional formatting. Third bullet point is indicating the keep visual emphasis intentional. And when you go in depth on it, so what is apply consistent themes? They have given it in the small font for branding, readability, and across every report. Means, see, if you are seeing this screen, you are identifying it, what matter it is showing, and what three bullet points, how it is presented. So that way, your report has to publish that, it has to share the information quickly, and you have to understand it. A layman can has to understand the report easily. Means usually we will not give the reports to laymen, but we will provide the reports to the functional users only or business stakeholders. They have to understand the report what they are doing. Means they are not the technical experts, but they have to align with the report that what is happening at the back end. For example, there is a, we had seen recently one of the fault analysis machine. So we have hardware machines which have more number of sensors. So 1 to 50 sensors we used to have. And in that sensors, it used to process some information by it. We used to capture that information whenever a sensor is failed. Okay. So we used to have the images when a sensor is failed 1 out of 50 every hour. So we are not picking that information as sensor is working. So we have to get that warnings and alerts. So we have to we had a requirement to prepare a report that the who are the technical team who is to stay at the monitoring alert. So they ask you to get the information. So if a sensor is not working for an hour, or for a couple of hours. So we should get some warnings and alerts by seeing the dashboard, which type of sensors are getting warned and which sensors are alert stage. So we used to get that fault mechanism and we used to collect that information, and we had that hourly data for, okay, for example, five sensor is failing for every hour from last 4 hours. So we have to get that information and we have to show the hourly status of all the sensors, whether our system is working or not. And if it is working, fine, we will have to show that in the green color. If it is not, if some of the sensors are not working, so we have to show that in the warning state. So that is what when it has to be in the green state, when it has to be in the yellow state, when it has to be in the red state. Means when it is in proper state, when it is in warning state, when it is in the alert state. So to define that, we should define the thresholds. So that is what is important. The proper threshold calculation is more important when you are designing a report. We should not go with a rough estimations. That is what is the analysis we have to do based on our trends, and we have to propose it to the client or functional user. And then we have to, based on that, we should prepare, we should observe the data for some period of time. Based on that, we have to develop a report. So that is the way of doing. So that's the threshold calculation and threshold estimations we have to provide. So as a data analyst, our job is to do those kind of activities, not only preparing data and providing some report, whatever the client is asked, but majority times your input is also be considered. when you have done the proper analysis and when you have the proper visualization. So that's where your report has to give the proper understanding when by seeing it. So it should not be more information on the report. It should be less information, but it should be pictorial and it should be colors also. So when you are applying some themes, you should think about that. So you have the themes and you are working on it. It's not the way. You have the slicers, you are keeping it, you are keeping the filters at right side completely. It's not the way. So how much of information is more useful and how much of information is not required, that analysis also you have to do. That's where the slicing, filtering, and page configuration, what we are discussing so far. So when you are see the slicer versus filter, so majority people don't know that when we have to use slicer and when we have to use filter. So a slicer is something after preparing the report, which will be handled by the user. So at visual control, users click directly on the paste filter. So whenever you prepare a report, so you are already data is prepared with the some filters and you have provided. So for example, we can take the previous example. So we have the 50 sensors in that they want to see only some particular sensors. So they can use that on the directly on the page. So a slicer, if you add on a page, it will be there on the report also. Okay. So whenever when you deploy the report, it will exist on the right side top or left side or bottom of it. So we will add that slicer and it can be visible. But when it comes to filter, so filters are always on the right side in the apps.powerbi.com. So we have to go through it and we have to do some operations on it. So this will be more somewhat typical for a technical team has to technical understanding of the report. They only has to do it, but slicer is easier way. So that where the user can understand more. So when we have to use slicer and when we have to use filter based on your use case, you have to define those two things and understand the filter scopes. So whatever, whenever we are doing some report, so we have to understand what type of visual it is, or it can be it can fit to the screen, or it can be a page, or it can be report. So there will be three types of it. It can be a dashboard, or it can be a page, or it can be a report. So there will be some users like who are at high level like CEO or CEO or technical directors. So they don't need all the complete depth end-to-end information. They just want to see, okay, the machine is working or not. They just want to just see that it is whether which state it is, green, yellow, or red. So that kind of small information is enough. They don't need which sensor is working or not, which sensor is in the alert state. They don't need that technical depth. So they just need the visual report. So we don't need that much of things doing in that slide. So we just need to provide a small information on whatever they have to understand and where they have to perform the action. When it comes to a technical user, so whoever works in the workshop, they have to understand, okay, which sensors are working and which sensors which are not working. So they need some more in-depth on it. So they have to get report. So a report can be where the which will provide complete end-to-end information. That is the way we have to do. And the third thing is configure page size and layout for the audience. So we have to define the page sizes and layouts also to understand the better way. And fourth thing is the change canvas size and adjust background and wallpaper. So always the majority of the clients will suggest the less background size, and they always come with their company logos. So those things we have to keep it. We should not keep it more thick or more darken backgrounds always. So always it has to be less background, which will provide the front end information, whatever is on the background. So that is where the focus needs to be. The focus never needs to be on the background. And the third part is the visual calculations and paginated reports. So whenever we see some of the reports will have the visual calculations and they will have the enhanced reports for usability and storytelling also. So we will see the bookmarks and custom tool tips and also edit interactions. So when we create a bookmark, which will be a guided experience that walk users through a story, and we need a tool tips also sometimes when we are defining a bar charts or pie charts, when they go on to that bar chart, particular bar chart, it has to provide some tooltip. So what it is exactly means. If we are seeing any sales trends, so it is on the particular time instance, this much of sales has done. So that is very minimal and value added. So it has to provide that much information. When we see the line or graphs, it can help us more. On the tooltips can help us. And it has to, when we design a report, it has to have the edit interactions. So control how visuals filter or highlight one another. So that is what is needed here. So it has to have some edit buttons. So we have to provide, that is where the slicers and functions filters can help us. And the next thing is navigation and sorting. So when we see the buttons and the pages, so we have to see the notice. So navigating to it and some kind of sorting is also important, because whenever we design a report, definitely the sorting mechanism will be there. So if we have a sorting, so here a practical note is that sorting is a small but exam relevant feature. So when we go within the Power BI 300 exam, so definitely there will be 1, 2 questions on sorting also. You should be prepared with those things as well. And whenever the how the sort visuals to highlight key insights first. So those things they will provide a practical examples like, so when we are doing this report, so which has to be either it has to be sorted ascending or descending. So those things also needs to be there. So if you understand the requirement clearly and what they ask is that, so based on that the sorting will be defined. So that things also you have to see when we are preparing for a Power BI 300. And in the practical Power BI report when you are generating, so you have to focus on what type of sort you have to do. So sometimes we have to see the latest in, always we will see the latest information first and the old information at the last. So that is the way we have to do. So when a period of bar charts are identified on the screen from 1 to 20, so the 20th bar chart needs to give the information of last 1 hour status. The first bar chart needs to be the 24 hours back that information. You should not always go with the left to right. That so it is always from right to left. Means the last button will be the last chart will be the gives the latest information. That is the way we have to provide. So that is where we have to do the sorting and we have to provide the proper navigation. And when we see the accessibility of the design, so one is the alt test. So if you are describing the visuals, so screen readers can convey their meaning. So that is the way. So for example, I will provide here a case. So usually majority of the world will see the English only. But when you go to the Germany, so they always go with the German Dutch language. So the reports when you prepare in Germany, so they will be in the Dutch language. So there are 4, 5 languages which are in the world, which are recognized at their location. So the report needs to be in that language. So that's where we have to develop our report, which can help us, the screen readers, it can convey their meaning easily. So that's the one way. And also the another way of it is not only language specific. And if you prepared a report like some, for example, sales versus time. So based on time, whatever the sales are done. So the naming of the report needs to be a proper, it will be less characters. We should not provide more information on it. And it has to be meaningful. That is where we have to do the testing. And next is the ordering. So whatever the tabs needs to be first and whatever tabs needs to be next. So that's where the logical reading sequence. So when we see the example of the sensors only. So in the sensors, what we will see is, so whatever the information is first we have to see is, so first is whether the machine is working or not and machine is in which state, whether it is in green or it is in a warning state or it is in yellow state. So that is the first report. And the second report will be like, it is which type of sensors are failing and which types of sensors are in a warning state and which types of sensors are in working properly. So that is the second report. But if you are keeping your tab order on the first way, the sensors which are working, that is not a useful, right? So whenever a CAO or CEO is logged in, So they will see this the machine is working or not, and they will leave it. They will not go in depth on it, and they will not see all the tabs. So that's where we have to see the ordering of the report when we are developing a report, which has to be more visible. So many majority of users what they are expecting, so that has to be at the first. And when it goes to in-depth knowledge on it, it has to be at the next. So that's it. And the third is the contrast. So always we have to be the Power BI report needs to have some experience in designing also, screen designing. So he has to see the ensure text and icons remain legible for all users. So if you see for the screen, so some of the items are with bold and some of the items with less font with bold and some of the items with normal characters. So that's where so heading will be with high length and bold. And after that, second heading will be with some small length, but it will be in bold. Some of them, which the description will be always with normal text characters. We should not use the majority of the different types of fonts. We have to use the proper font, which will be easily, we, by seeing it, we have to understand it. We should not focus more on it. So that's where we have to see the colors and text characters as well. And the mobile layout. This is also one of the important thing nowadays, well, because whenever a report is shared with the team or with any of them, so they always want two views. One is the window layout and is the mobile layout. So we have to see our report has to fit for the layout and it has to provide all the information in that. They should not want to zoom it or they should not want to go in depth on it. By seeing it, they want to understand it. That is what is more important whenever you are seeing the things on design perspective. So how much time you spend for the analysis of data and trend, as well as you have to spend some more time on the design also. So design is not an ignorable thing, but if you are focused on design, definitely the reports will come out. And the last part is the identify patterns and trends. So in this, we will see the discover and one is the trend. So how we have to define the trend and outliers and relationships hiding in your data. So those things we have to discover as we do in the data analysis part. And once we did that, we have to do the analyze the tool. So a visual needs to find where to distribution differs. So once you analyze the data, you have to see how to define it and how we can present it. So once you gather that information, then you have to do the grouping and binning. So organize data points into meaningful categories. So you have to do the grouping. So usually we will get an Excel report, okay, Excel data simply. So client will share all the data. He will share a number of columns like 50 to 100 columns and lakhs of data. But by seeing it, it is not easy to prepare a end report. You have to understand what data it is and what type of columns you have to take and what type of rows you have to consider. So that is the first part you have to see in the discover part. Once you got that information, you have to do some pie charts. Okay. So in the pie charts, you can understand when you are combining the data, when the data will be on the time model, definitely we will have a time column in it. So any report we see. So in that time, we have to prepare the data with day wise, month wise, year wise. So in that way, we have to prepare. If we go in depth, quarter also. So once we group the data, we have to see, okay, what type of columns we have to take. We have to calculate the sum, or we have to calculate average, or we have to calculate any mathematical formulas. Those things we have to see in the grouping and pinning. And once we done all this information, then we have to do the clustering. So automatically surface natural groupings in the data. So that's where we have to focus more and we have to prepare the data. So these are things we have to do when we are doing an analysis. And last one is the A visuals and forecasting. So nowadays the A is also embedded to everywhere and wherever we are working. So when we go with A visuals, so it will be like A visuals will help us. Oh, what type of, so if you have the data, you can help in the A and you can ask it, okay, so what type of data it is and how we can present it more and how we can dig it. So that's where the A can help us. And one more thing is the most and very important thing for A is the forecasting. So whenever we see the forecast, so we have to see, okay, so based on our historical data analysis, we have to define the forecast. That's where the AI artificial intelligence will help us. So when we see on the weather, so whatever the weather they used to do yesterday and the previous year, so many long years, they used to analyze on what conditions they used to pick at that period of time. So based on that, they used to do the analysis and they used to predict some things. So what is the prediction will help here? So based on our historical data, they used to analyze and they used to prepare some information and they will get that, okay, today, now this at this time, there may be humidity, there may be rain. So that is what is the forecasting they used to do. So based on our report, we have to define that, okay, it can be helpful in forecasting as well, and it has to be smart narrative. So that's what we are trying to explain in the previous slides also. So always with the help of AI, you can define the auto generate plain language summaries of your data. So if you have the data information, whatever you gather, you can ask AI. Okay, so what type of it can be an understandable for a layman or for any functional user. It should not be technical also always. So majority times what I see is they used to keep, if you are doing with the times with the sales sum. So a majority of the people what they used to do is time versus sum report. It is not the way. It is showing the sales dashboard. So that's where your naming convention needs to be more functional and it has to be understandable for a business user. And it should not be more typical also. You should not provide high-end English language or high-end language. It can be a normal plain language. It can helpful to the users. And the fourth one is decomposition tree and key influencers. So whenever we design a report, it has to drill into and what's driving a metric up or metric down. So those also can be helpful with the help of AI. And if you see this average ice coverage per year with 10-year forecast, so in this report we are seeing the how do we have to identify the anomalies and how we can detect the unexpected values using anomaly detection. So anomaly detection is something which is one of the AI feature, so which is observed till 2022. So if you see the data from 1990 to 2022, the data is in the blue color. So here there that data is all the data where the Power BI developer prepared from his historical data and he represented it with the help of AI. So in the future, the anomalies will be look like. So it is following a decreasing trend. If you see the trend of it, so started it 1990, it is around 8, and after it slowly it has down to 7 in 2002, and after it came to 2010 6, but it never in this trend it never increased again once it started from 8. So that's why he from 2022 to 2024 the forecast is asked. So he expected that it will decrease and it will reduce it to 2, maybe nearly 2, but it is just a prediction and it is not the real time. So that's where the forecast is defined. But when you see from 1990 to 1994 in the 4 years gap, so it is around at 7.8 to 7.5 we can consider for roughly. So it will be zero point 0.3. If you see from 2022 to 2026, there also they provided the difference, the tilde we usually call. So it is also zero point 0.3. So that's where the prediction defines and the forecast is defined. So that's
So,
where the our
sorry,
analysis.
Koundinya,
Yeah.
there is, additional time, so try to wrap up. Okay.
Okay, sure. Yeah, I think I'm covering up. So
Yeah.
in maybe 1 or 2 minutes I can complete.
Thank you. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So this is where a report has to indicate that, okay, if you are by seeing the report, you are understanding, okay, it is a time series data versus anomalies. So average ice coverage per year. So that's where we have to define it, and your x-axis and y-axis is to be proper way. And your coloring also here, see, if you are defining a pie chart for this, it will be more difficult. So now here they used the line here and they identified the information. So this is where the yours once you prepared the data and once you understood the requirement, which type of visual you have to pick and which type of axis and which type of slicers you have to define. That is where Your experience is matters. So I think I have done with the visual and analyze the things. So these are the quick tips for the passing your exam. So one is you should go through it completely your technical modules, and once you go through it, some practice of DAX and Power Queries needs to be there, and not only theory. So definitely there will be some DAX queries are asked in the exam and also Power Queries. So be practiced on it, and you have to understand what are the majority of the differences between slicers and filters when we have to use that, and like calculated columns and measure codes. And there will be so many questions, differences related things which will confuse you. There will be less questions only in the PL 300 or any Microsoft exam, but what is that first question will be like a 15th question. There will be same pattern, but there will be one keyword change. So that's where you have to understand it, and there will be a confusion on it. So sometimes there will be multiple answers. So there you have to focus more time, and you have to understand the question properly, and then only you have to answer it. So that's where you have to see the differ. So first of all, you have to understand whatever the comparable items like slicers and filters, calculated columns and measure code, and there are some more things drill through. So those things you have to understand much depth, and based on it you have to go through it. And the time box case studies, so this is also some things where majority times we will see the questions on time box related things, so you have to understand more on it as well. Yeah, that's all I think, pretty much from for this visualize and analyze the data. So I think I hope if you have any questions, we can go through it.
Thank you so much, Kaudinya, and thank you for stepping instead of earlier we discussed, right? There is another speaker, but due to some urgency, he is not available, and asked the Kaudinya to step in, and he delivered very well. Thank you so much, Kaudinya.
Thank you.
And there is a question in
Hi
chat.